Well, hello. Today I'm doing a mini trunk show, if you will. I'm going to feature some quilts that are the result of my travels and or living in the Southwest. So I've moved around a lot for career reasons mostly. And I've had the distinct privilege to be living in Phoenix two different times and Las Cruces, New Mexico. I've also, traveled the Southwest just for fun, and so I'm going to show you some of the things that I've made in my memory of different trips to the Southwest. So when we went to Albuquerque the first time to the International Balloon Fiesta, there is a great little quilt shop there. And they had all sorts of patterns and fabrics and stuff. And I was just kind of overwhelmed. But when I found this pattern that made it look like you were looking out a window, and of course they had International Balloon Fiesta fabric, I bought the pattern and the fabric, and this was the first time I had tried to commemorate with a wall quilt. And I liked the way it turned out. I liked it so much, I made two. I put one in my office and left one here at home. The next is a bed size quilt. It's on my queen size bed in the guest room. Um, it's more of a topper than a full queen size, but it's beautiful. And we went to Arizona to visit friends and went up to Sedona. And of course, I found a quilt shop there and bought some fat quarters and a border print, and then came home and had to figure out how to put it together. Well, here's what I came up with. Here's the bed size quilt. I cut up the border and used the coco pele's as focal blocks in the center. And then I used fat quarters and did a variation of the, some people call it the mountain block or whatever. And as I was going along and using fat quarters, it goes without saying, it wasn't big enough for what I thought I wanted to do. So I actually ended up adding another border right there and then adding this brown coco paley around the edge. Altogether, though, the quilt works really, really well. I love the Southwesty colors and the patterns. It wasn't a difficult quilt to make, but it is eye-catching. And of course, it's warm because I put flannel on the back. So this is from our trip to Sedona, Arizona. So this is my first applique quilt. It's a really super simple pattern, and I did machine piecing and machine applique with this. And I had tried to add some charms and some beads and things to give it more interest. Unfortunately, at the time we had two cats that took an interest in the beads and ripped most of them off. But this is a dancing Kachina doll. I don't remember when I got this fabric. I know it was one of our trips to the Southwest, but like I said, having lived there and traveled and visiting friends, it's hard to keep track of some of these things. And unfortunately, I had not started dating my quilts or signing them yet, so I really don't know when this happened. This is in memory of our trip to Utah in 2023. We took our 21-foot camper and we're going to go to all the big parks out there. And Capitol Reef had this panel, and I bought it and didn't know what to do with it. So I finally just started kind of embroidering with some a running stitch just to kind of give it some texture. And it turned out really, really pretty. It's kind of big, as you can see. I still haven't cut the dowel rod, but at least it's hanging up. It's not in a pile in my sewing room. So I'm making progress. This sand painting next to it was purchased at a um, silent auction when we were living in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Isn't that beautiful? We like to have memorabilia about our trips and things sitting around the house. So every room has a little of this and a little of that. Last but not least is this wall hanging. It is gigantic. I really can't even get it all in this shot. But as you can see, each window has a different symbol from the Southwest with this dancer in the center and kachinas and pottery and bears, oh my. This one took a really long time. It was labor intensive, to say the least. First, because of the size. Second, because of the number of fabrics that were involved. This was a kit that I purchased when I was in Albuquerque for the International Balloon Fiesta the last time we went, which would have been in 2017. I'm going to zoom in and show you some of these blocks because it really is interesting. So each one of these feathers was made individually, and then the pieces were put on, and you can see I did a raw edge applique. Now some of them I put beadwork or something on it just to give it some interest. Isn't that beautiful? That's a lot of feathers, let me just say that. The serpent on the next piece of pottery has beads on it. This little piece of pottery, I did add a chain and some beads and a charm too. But this dancer in the middle, look at all the energy. You can almost feel him dancing around. He's also wearing some charms around. Again, all of those feathers were made by hand. They actually had you kind of fuse two pieces together and then cut out all the feathers. And then the electrical sparks or whatever going out from his headdress, that's embroidery floss. And it's just made to show the motion and the energy and the power in the dancer. Like I said, applique is not my forte, but after having made this one, I don't know if I'll ever do much more of it. We'll see, because this was quite a project. But I really love this. It's at least 4.5 feet tall, maybe 5 feet tall. And it's a full width of fabric across, so at least 42 inches across. So it's a big one. I am proud of it. It is in my sewing room up on the wall. I hope you enjoyed this little miniature trunk show of my quilts from the Southwest. I've got several quilts and several ideas on how to do some mini trunk shows. Remember, give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.